So hey guys, warm welcome. Armin van Buren here. Welcome to my studio. And can you hear me? I think they can hear me. Big shout out to everybody currently in my Discord. I'm reading along with you. So there's a few things that are new. First of all, I'm wearing glasses. And second, I thought it would be cool to show you what I'm doing here. Every year I try to make the State of Trance year mix, which is, I don't know, a silly idea that I started in 2004 to cram more than 100 tracks in less than 2 hours, sort of giving an oversight of what's happening in the year of trance music. So it's really a trance dedicated mix that I do every year. And it's always a bit of a work. It usually takes me 2 full weeks of studio time plus a lot of preparation. This is what it looks like so far. If you can see my screen, I'm using Ableton Live, the last version of it. And I developed a little routine of how to make these year mixes. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about how I'm doing the mix. I'm going to be live for quite a while. I'm actually going to be live for the next 4 hours. So you can watch how I'm actually doing the mix and how I'm compiling the mix. If you have any questions, make sure to drop them in my Discord. Go to my Discord and then hop into the live stream chat. I'm reading along with all the chats right now. Big shout out to everybody watching on Twitch as well. Big shout out to the fans on YouTube. And I'll be explaining little things about what I'm doing while making the mix. Currently, I'm at, let's say, 46 minutes into the mix, and I've already been spending 5 days in this studio. I usually finish about 5 to 10 minutes of the mix each day, and I have to deliver the master on Friday, so I still have a lot of work to do. So what I'm actually doing is making the year mix. The year mix will be broadcasted as well as part of A State of Trance, the last official episode, and will be released. I think this is the 19th edition of the year mix, and I always spend a lot of time on it. So all the tracks that I use are actually cleared. I ask for permission to use the masters. So there's a lot of masters, of course, from Armada, but there's also a lot of masters from other labels. So we actually ask for permission to use the rights. What makes my job a lot easier is the fact that many colleagues send the stems of the mixes, so the separate acapellas, the separate kicks and drums. So I'm actually deconstructing a lot of the tracks, so I can actually make and combine all those elements and make the year mix. So it's a lot of work. I enjoy it, although it does take a lot of my time. But I really enjoy listening to all the big tracks of the year. So right now, I'll show you a little bit how I normally work. In the Ableton session, this is a comp track, so I just use that to import tracks. These are the audio files. I only use 5 audio tracks. Why? I don't particularly put like a new track per track, because this gives me a better opportunity to see what I'm actually doing. I know a lot of you out there would probably make a new track for every new song that you import. I don't do that because for the sake of overview. And here's the few effect tracks. So here are all the acapellas. They run through a chain, and there's some effects and reverb going on, but I try to minimize the use of the number of tracks just to keep an oversight for myself. So let's go into some questions. If you have any questions during the mixing, just let me know. We have a slider cam going on. How much computer storage is needed for all the components of the mix? So actually not that much. I'm working on the new Mac M1, and I have the SSD. I think it's the 8 terabyte one. This is actually my studio one, my laptop that I take on the road, and also the one I use in my studio. So All right, so let me continue the mix. Right now I'm at 46-7 minutes into the mix. I'm in G minor, And I'm so thankful to Gareth for sending me the parts of his wonderful song with Robbie Womble. So here you can see that this is the actual track. But he also sent me the acapella. And now I'm at the point in the mix where I feel that his bass line is great, but I actually want a section where I just have the drums going and not the bass line. So I'm going to import the percussions as well. And I'm going to import, oh, wait, he's rendered them at a higher bit rate. So I'm just using iTunes to convert his tracks. I want these elements. So I'm going to convert these to 44.1, which is the current rate I'm working on. There we go. And I'll be importing those here. Right. Ooh, these are running terribly out of sync. Why is that? Okay. There you go. Okay. I just want the kick. I'm gonna bump it up. So I've got the breakdown of this track I absolutely love by Rubik and Corti organ, and but it's just a breakdown, and I don't want the beat to stop for the year mix. So I took the kick of Gareth's track, and that's actually continuing. And here's a track from Ferry Corson called with Morgan Page, that's actually the percussion of that. I've extended it, so the mix seems seamless that way. It's kind of the year mix style. So at this particular time, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 tracks running at the same time. It's the loop from a Purple Haze track. It's the hi-hats from Garrett's track. And it's a loop from Ferry's track. It's of course the Rubik, which is the main melody. And there's the kick from Garrett's track. And here you hear that reverb, which is actually the last bit of Garrett's track, with a lot of reverb on it, so to smooth out the transition. And I took the acapella from Garrett's track as well, which is the last bit right before the transition. So. Now we can make this transition a little nicer by, for example, doubling the kicks here. And then maybe reversing this one. Reverse clip. So I'm using fades. Here we go. And this one could use, actually I think it could use a cymbal to smooth out this transition a little bit. Just really soft, not too loud. That works. Let me see. Just wondering if you have any more techno style bangers like Computers Take Over the World. Maybe. I don't know yet. I'm taking your questions on my Discord. Um, yeah, I'm working on a lot of stuff actually. So when the year mix is finished, I'm going back into the studio. Yeah, a lot of exciting tracks. So I don't know if there's a follow up for Computers Take Over the World, but that would be nice. If the track stems are not available or not giving to Armin, how is a track broken down into stems? Or does Ableton do that as well? Good question. No, actually not. There is, I get the stems of almost half of the tracks of the year mixes that I request. And if it doesn't, sometimes I don't need it. Sometimes I just use the extra track. There's usually elements in the beginning and the ending of the extended version of a track. So I use a lot of loops and stuff, and that's actually the easiest. Sometimes I want the a cappella from a song, and it wasn't given to me. And in that case, there's many websites that actually give you stems. That's actually new. It's the first time this year I'm actually using the stems, generated by an AI. I'll show you in a bit as well. So I'm now at 48 minutes in the mix. What's really important is the planning. I'm using Rekordbox. Here are all my, here's the mix so far. I'm at track 49 in the year mix. And yeah, I'm just in G minor right now. And I'm trying to think what track I'm gonna do next. Because I still have a few tracks that I want to include. It's always a little difficult before we go into the uplifting stuff, because the BPM of the mix, goes up gradually during the mix. I'm actually getting to the fun part now, where all the uplifting tracks come in. The beginning is always a little slower, so it really takes you on a journey, the mix. So for me, there's always a build and a review phase. So I'm actually building the mix right now, making the transitions. And as you can see, only 1 minute of audio takes me at least an hour just to make sure all the effects are right and stuff. And I'm just carefully looking at the playlist to see what track I'm going to pick next to use. So I'm in G minor now. I could go into D minor. Let me think. So many great tracks. I mean, it's it's really fighting, because I know I only have I only have space for about 105 songs, and right now I've selected 143. So that means you're killing 40 tracks, which I actually don't like to do because there's so much good stuff. And it's always really hard. It's like making a DJ set. You can't always play every song you want, but it's a really hard one. So we're in this track. We could go into D minor right now, but from D minor, I can go to wait. See, here's a little trick I'm using. I really like this track by Lurum. I want to include it in the mix. Perhaps it fits after the 130 D minor. Because if I speed up C sharp minor 124 to 130, it's actually half a key, so that should bring me to D minor. Let's just try. So first, let me import this one. So I'm using this track to sort of getting the rundown of a track. What for me are the highlights of this track? It's actually a good example. This is a great track, and it's here's a spoiler alert. This track is doing well in the standings so far for the Tune of the Year voting. Every year I ask you guys to vote for your favorite tracks, and a lot of people do. And I can have a look at the standings so far, and I decide my choices for the year mix on that list. Also on my personal preference, of course, but most of the tracks are actually in the top 100 of the standings so far. The voting is still open, but it gives you a quick rundown of what you guys actually like or think are the biggest trance tracks of the year. And this track was actually, I think, in the top 60 or something. Now, I've requested the acapella, but hey, I don't know. They were probably too busy, or they didn't want to give the acapella, which happens a lot. So I'm actually using this website, which is mvsep.com. Absolutely love that one. And I'm just dropping the track in here because I think it would be cool to have the acapella from here. And this one does the magic. I'm actually using this one, this algorithm. We want WAV. I'm not a robot. And I'm going to separate this track. So this is usually where I get coffee. Can anybody make me coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Would Need You Now be in the year mix at all? No, because it's not from this year. Let me see. Since David Guetta is releasing an album next year, will there finally see you two collaborate? I'd love to collaborate, but I guess he's too busy. I've asked him about it, and yeah, we've been sending each other tracks back and forth, but so far it hasn't happened. So, beautiful track by Azel, but is not trance. That's your opinion. Where do you get the excellent storytelling ideas from? Let's start the year mix series. Oh, thank you. I always choose a theme. Here's a spoiler alert. I've actually asked Roland Clark to do the intro this year for the year mix, and I'm really, really excited about him. And we talked about it. Talked about situation in the world. Try to shed some positivity, and yeah, the storytelling this year I think is really beautiful. So. Does it take more time because you were explaining to us? Yeah, a little bit, but I actually enjoy it because normally I'm in this room for 2 weeks, just sitting here by myself. And I thought, after 20 years doing this year mix, I thought I might as well share this with you guys. So the mix gets done now. After I'm actually done with the mix, it gets sent to mastering. Arjan Rietvink in the Netherlands, great guy. He always helps me with mastering. He has some fresh ears. But before I sent the stems of the year mix to him, I actually road tested. I listened to the mix like at least 4 or 5 times in its entirety. And then I, tweak. And there's so many edits in the mix. Usually I end up with something like 3,000-4,000 clips. And it's just a lot. What artist would not give Armin their a cappella? Yeah. Hey, man, you're right. I need more acapellas. Hey Armin, can I use Magic Music Maker to make that kind of music? Why not? It's not about the kitchen. It's about the chef. I keep saying this. I don't care if you use FL Studio, Pro Tools, the coolest rig out there. It really doesn't matter. It's all about what's in your head and if you can make it sound cool, The stuff you can do now with a laptop of just a few $100 and some plugins is, imagine if Mozart would have had a laptop, a modern day laptop, So how does this work in music voice separation? So I've just asked this website, mvsep.com, to separate this this track for me, and this is what he's done. I've just played you the track. What I want the drums, I want the vocals, and an alternative take on the vocals. Let's see. What is really important when you do a mix like this is that you're really well organized. So a lot of time actually I spend to get most of the wavs and the stems, of course, are working in an organized way. So now I'm actually making a new folder in my stems section and writing down that I've used MVSep to separate the stems. I would never use this for a release, but for a year mix, I think it's okay. I'd rather have the original stems, which makes it sound better. But let me see. Here I am. So I got the stems, and then I put it in the year mix stems. So here we go. They just gave me the stems. Let's see which vocal processing I like. Dankjewel. Sounds good. Now I line it up with the original track so I can see what I'm actually doing. And you see there's a lot of artifacts going on. But it did a job. So let's get the original length of the file here. Make sure the track starts at 1. Now I want to line up the original track with the vocals so I know what section I'm in. It makes my job easier. So let's first see if what I have actually makes sense and if it sounds good. All right, who said this wasn't trance? For me, this has trance with a capital T written all over it. So yeah, this is D minor. It should go over G minor. They're in the same chord, so let's try if this, see if this works. If it doesn't, then bad luck for me. So I paste the a cappella here, and first let's see if it works. And that happens all the time. Ableton starts buffering. I don't know what that is, but it buffers the audio. I don't know. It's doing all kinds of things in the background, and it's annoying. But it means coffee time. And they love my glasses. Thank you. I don't like them, but I need them. So, yeah. So Ableton, I don't know what Ableton's doing, but maybe it's having a bathroom break. I don't know. But I have to wait. So I usually, when Ableton starts buffering, I usually save it, and I use this number. So this is the 31st time I actually saved the entire project. So let's see if this works. Woo! So now I've combined a track from Rubik, which is in G minor, with a D minor track, and I'm lucky with the melody of the vocal because it actually just fits. So I have the a cappella from one track going over Rubik. So this is a mashup that you actually don't hear anywhere else except for in the year mix. So this is what makes the year mix special for me, that you get all these combinations that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And that's where we can have the original track. Okay, looks like the BPM is going up. It sounds a little bit off. Ooh, that's off. Now I'm fixing all the levels. I have to give a shout out to my buddy Benno, who I produce with a lot in the studio here. He made this VLM loudness meter, which you normally use in software, which gives me the average loudness. And what I try to do when I deliver the mix to Arjan, I try to have an average loudness of minus 18 LUFS. That's a little bit nerd talk, I know, but so it gives the master a lot of space to actually play with the levels and play with the mastering. And it has a lot of room to still EQ. So I'm trying to stay out of the reds, obviously. So every track, most of the tracks are mastered, unfortunately, but yeah, I try to keep everything at a minus 17. So if you see this little gauge there, you see that I'm trying to uphold like a minus 18, minus 17. So when it goes into mastering, he has a lot of headroom to make it even sound greater. Oh, great. Ableton has decided to go on another toilet break. And don't worry, I've fixed my buffer size and everything, but sometimes it's just... When will the full track list be released? Well, I'm actually making the mix as we speak. So when it's done, and when we've cleared all the rights with everybody, when we made sure that everybody's happy, because, you know, these tracks are all owned by labels, you know, and we have to respect the rights. So unfortunately, I can't use every track that I want to use in the year mix. That has to do with licensing. It's very unfortunate, but still, I dare to say that 80% of the tracks that we request actually get approved. So thank you, big thank you to all the labels that help us out, because we have to respect the rights, guys. So all the tracks are cleared, so we can only announce the track list if everybody's happy and all the paperwork is signed. So that's important. So let me jump forward into the questions. Hey Armin, I got an interesting question. When layering tracks with vocal acapellas, do you leave the stereo image intact? I mean, don't you have to reduce some of the sides of the vocals which you want to mix with the next drop track? Sometimes I hear drop tracks in your year mixes with the vocals of another track. That's why I'm asking you if you tweak the stereo image as well. I actually don't. I have a what I have here is a vocal chain. This is the vocal chain that I'm using in the year mix, which is a little delay, little reverb that I play with and I automate. And I use the LFO tool. Thank you so much for that I automate as well, to give space in the mix, you know, for when the kick comes in. But actually, I usually leave the stereo image untouched. And if it really sounds not good, I export it, I tweak the stereo image, and I import it back into Ableton. So just so I have audio. So I'm trying to keep my workflow. Do you need a powerful PC or Mac to do this? Maybe minimize the buffering. No, I think with the current, I mean, I'm using the M1 right now. For me, it is stable. I don't know. They did something with the update on Ableton. In the background, there's some buffering going on. Usually, if you just wait for a minute, it sorts everything out. But there's already a lot of clips in this mix. I mean, look, this is my painting so far. And it gets worse. The only downside is that the further I am in the mix, it takes longer to save. So... how often do you take the year mix? Well, I do the year mix once a year. That's why it's a year mix. Except for last year, then I did two. I did one for ASOT 1000, which I'm really proud of. How do you progress through the journey in a way that builds the intensity and keeps the journey moving, other than BPM? I don't mind BPM so much. I mean, in general, I like to start around 128 and end up